Hey folks, welcome back to Stoic Quotes 365. Have you ever wondered why the people you care for the most sometimes seem to drift away, leaving you questioning everything? It's a painful, universal experience, one that cuts deep and makes you reevaluate your relationships, your actions, and even your worth. This isn't just about heartbreak. It's about human psychology and the intricacies of connection, value, and loss. Today, we're diving into a truth that many of us avoid confronting: why the people who receive our care and devotion sometimes end up walking away. Let's face it, caring deeply for someone is one of the most beautiful but vulnerable things we can do. When you invest in someone emotionally, you're putting your heart on the line. But here's the kicker: it's not always received the way you hope. Sometimes, your care and devotion can unintentionally create distance. Why? Because human relationships are as much about perception and emotional balance as they are about love and support. When that balance shifts too far in one direction, it can lead to misunderstandings, discomfort, and even a loss of appreciation for what you bring to the table. So, why does this happen? Why do the very people you care about the most sometimes choose to walk away? This isn't just a relationship issue. It's deeply rooted in how humans think, feel, and react. One of the harshest truths is that people often take things for granted, especially when those things seem constant and dependable. When your presence becomes a given, something predictable, it can lose its impact. It's not that your care isn't valued. It's that its value becomes invisible. This isn't your fault, and it's not necessarily theirs either. It's simply the way human psychology works. Think about this. When was the last time you stopped to truly appreciate something that's always been there for you? A sunrise, a favorite meal, or even a dependable friend? Chances are, those moments of appreciation are rare because the consistency of those things makes them feel less urgent. Now apply that to relationships. When you're always available, always giving, it's easy for others to subconsciously expect it, without realizing how much it means until it's gone. And here's where it gets even more complex. When someone walks away, it's rarely just about you. Often, it's about them, their fears, insecurities, and unresolved issues. Maybe they're struggling to accept the depth of your care because it challenges their sense of independence. Or perhaps they've been conditioned to associate vulnerability with weakness, making your emotional availability feel overwhelming. The truth is, people's actions are often reflections of their inner struggles, not a judgment of your worth. But this doesn't mean you should start blaming yourself or doubting the value of your care. In fact, this realization is your key to freedom. When you understand that someone leaving isn't always about you, you reclaim your emotional strength. You stop internalizing their decisions as a reflection of your inadequacy and start seeing them as part of their journey. A journey you don't have to carry the burden of. Let's talk about the role of Stoicism in all of this. The ancient Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, taught us that we cannot control others' actions, only our responses to them. This mindset is critical when you're faced with the pain of being left by someone you care about. Instead of falling into despair or questioning your value, you can choose to focus on what you can control: your own growth, resilience, and emotional equilibrium. Stoicism isn't about suppressing your emotions. It's about recognizing that your emotions don't define your worth. When someone leaves, it's natural to feel a mix of emotions: shock, regret, anger, and longing. But each of these feelings is an opportunity to learn more about yourself and your relationships. For example, the initial shock of someone leaving can teach you the importance of self-reliance. Regret can push you to reflect on what you've learned and how you can grow. And the yearning to rebuild what's lost can be a reminder to set boundaries and prioritize your own needs moving forward. The irony is, the very moment someone realizes they've lost you is often when they start to see your true value. This isn't about playing games or withholding your care. It's about understanding the power of detachment. When you step back, you create space for others to reflect on what they've lost, forcing them to confront their own actions and choices. This isn't manipulation, it's self-respect. You're showing them, and yourself, that your worth doesn't depend on their validation. As we explore this topic further, we'll uncover the psychological and emotional journey someone goes through when they realize they've lost someone like you. It's a process that's as much about them as it is about you, filled with moments of realization, regret, and introspection. By understanding these dynamics, you'll gain the tools to navigate relationships with clarity and confidence. Before we dive deeper into the emotional and psychological layers behind why people leave, let me remind you, your value is not determined by how others treat you. It's defined by how you treat yourself and the strength you cultivate within. If this resonates with you, take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who might need this reminder. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a chance to grow with us. Let's begin. Number 1. The shock of realizing your absence. The first thing people feel when they lose someone who truly cared about them is an overwhelming sense of shock. It's not just the kind of momentary surprise we experience when something unexpected happens. It's a deeper, more unsettling realization that leaves them questioning everything. Why? Because when someone who once provided consistent emotional support is no longer there, the void is undeniable. This isn't just about losing a person. It's about losing stability, comfort, and an irreplaceable presence. Imagine this scenario. You've always been the person who checks in, who listens, who genuinely cares. But over time, the care might have been taken for granted. When you finally step back, not out of anger, but out of self-respect, the impact is seismic. The person who once relied on your attention and energy now feels the absence like a sharp, cold wind. They may not have noticed your efforts in the moment, but when you're no longer there, the loss becomes painfully clear. This realization often hits hardest in the quiet moments, the times when they'd normally hear from you or lean on you. For example, a text they would expect doesn't come, or a familiar call to check on them is conspicuously absent. It's in these moments that the absence becomes real. People tend to assume that emotional support will always be there, but when it disappears, it forces them to confront just how much they depended on it. Here's the truth, folks. Human nature has a way of taking the predictable for granted. When someone is always present, always giving, their value can unintentionally fade into the background. This doesn't mean you weren't appreciated. It's just that consistency often blinds people to the effort and care it takes to maintain that level of connection. And when the consistent presence is suddenly gone, it's like the foundation they were standing on disappears. Psychologically, this reaction ties back to the way we're wired. People crave emotional security, whether they realize it or not. That security often comes in the form of someone dependable, someone who offers a sense of safety through their actions and presence. When that's removed, it creates a gap, a disorienting void that triggers introspection and, often, regret. Let's bring in a Stoic perspective here. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By stepping back, you're exercising that power. You're choosing to prioritize your emotional balance rather than pouring energy into someone who doesn't reciprocate in kind. And in doing so, you're giving them the opportunity to recognize what they've lost. The shock they feel isn't just about missing your physical presence. It's about missing the emotional stability and care you provided. When someone has been a constant, grounding force in their life, losing that feels like losing a part of themselves. This emotional void can be unsettling because it forces them to confront the reality of their actions or inactions. They begin to question why they didn't notice your value sooner, or why they didn't appreciate the care you offered when they had it. Here's something important to keep in mind. This moment of realization often comes with a mix of emotions: confusion, regret, and even frustration. They might initially blame external circumstances or even you for stepping back. But over time, as the shock subsides, they're left with the undeniable truth. You were a vital part of their life, and now that you're gone, things feel incomplete. For you, this is where emotional composure becomes your greatest ally. It's not about punishing them or seeking revenge. It's about standing firm in your value and refusing to compromise your worth for the sake of someone else's comfort. The Stoics teach us that detachment isn't about indifference. It's about recognizing that your peace of mind should never be contingent on another person's actions. So, what happens next? This is the turning point where they start to reflect, but we'll get into that later. For now, remember this: the shock of realizing your absence isn't just about them. It's also about you reclaiming your energy, your time, and your emotional investment. You're no longer pouring into a cup that doesn't pour back. That's the first step in redefining your relationships and, more importantly, your own sense of self. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below with "I know my worth." And don't forget to subscribe for more insights. There's so much more to explore in the next section. You don't want to miss it. Number 2, rediscovering balance in emotional security. When someone realizes they've lost the emotional security you provided, it's not just about regret. It's about facing the uncomfortable void you leave behind. Security isn't something people often think about consciously, but when it disappears, its absence is impossible to ignore. For someone who took your care and presence for granted, losing that stability can feel like a house suddenly losing its foundation. Folks, here's the thing about emotional security. It's quiet but essential. It's like a warm blanket on a cold day, or the steady beat of a drum in a song. You might not always notice it when it's there, but when it's gone, the cold and the silence are deafening. People don't always recognize the emotional safety you provide until they're left to fend for themselves, navigating the storms of life without that anchor. Think about it. How many times have you supported someone through their hardest moments? How many times have you been the voice of calm in their chaos? The one they could lean on without hesitation? When you step back, that void becomes stark. They might try to find that same stability elsewhere, but it won't feel the same because emotional security isn't just about being present. It's about the connection and trust you've built. Let's dive deeper into the psychology behind this. Humans are wired to crave safety, both physically and emotionally. When they feel secure with someone, it fulfills a deep-seated need for connection and comfort. But here's the twist. When that sense of safety is always available, people can become blind to its importance. It's a paradox. The more reliable you are, the less they consciously value it. By stepping back, you're not just removing your presence. You're forcing them to confront the role you played in their emotional stability. This realization often comes in waves. At first, they might not understand why they feel unsettled. They might even downplay their feelings, convincing themselves they don't need you. But as time passes, the absence of that emotional safety becomes undeniable. This is where Stoic philosophy offers profound wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. By removing yourself from the equation, you're giving them the opportunity to reassess their emotional needs and the role you played. You're also taking back control of your emotional energy, refusing to let someone drain it without reciprocation. For you, this process is about reclaiming your balance. It's about recognizing that while it's noble to provide emotional security for others, it should never come at the cost of your own well-being. When you consistently prioritize others without ensuring that your needs are met, it creates an imbalance that can leave you feeling drained and unappreciated. Stepping back allows you to restore that equilibrium, prioritizing your growth and stability. But let's not forget the other side of the equation. For the person who lost you, this moment is a mirror reflecting their own behaviors and choices. They start to realize that the emotional safety they once felt wasn't a given. It was something you consciously provided. This realization can be humbling and, at times, painful. It forces them to confront their own actions and the consequences of taking your care for granted. So, what happens next? Often, they'll begin to reach out, testing the waters to see if they can rebuild that sense of security. But here's where your strength lies, folks. You don't have to respond immediately, or even at all. This isn't about playing games. It's about honoring your boundaries and ensuring that any connection moving forward is built on mutual respect and effort. As you navigate this journey, remember that your worth isn't defined by how much you give to others. It's defined by the balance you create in your relationships, giving when it's healthy and stepping back when it's not. By doing this, you're not only protecting yourself, but also teaching others the importance of valuing the emotional security you provide. What's your take on this? Share your thoughts in the comments with "I value my balance." Bye. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more insights. The next section takes this idea even further. You don't want to miss it. Number 3. Regret and introspection. The weight of lost opportunities. When someone realizes they've lost someone who truly cared, regret isn't far behind. Regret, folks, is like a slow-burning ember. It doesn't hit all at once, but it lingers, growing heavier with time. It's not just the immediate loss that stings. It's the realization of what could have been, the opportunities they missed, and the moments they took for granted. This stage of introspection can be one of the most eye-opening and painful experiences they go through. Think about it. In the early stages of loss, their emotions might be clouded by denial or anger. But once the dust settles, the regrets start flooding in. They begin replaying every moment in their mind, searching for signs of where things went wrong. They'll recall the times they ignored your kindness, dismissed your efforts, or didn't reciprocate the emotional support you gave so freely. These memories don't just sting, they create a loop of what-ifs that's hard to escape. This process of regret often leads to introspection. For the first time, they're forced to confront their own behavior and the role they played in losing you. This isn't about them feeling sorry for themselves. It's about understanding that their actions, or inactions, had consequences. They might start to ask themselves questions like, why didn't I appreciate them more? Or what could I have done differently? These thoughts are not just fleeting. They become a constant hum in the background of their daily life. Let's bring this into a psychological perspective. Regret is a powerful emotion because it ties directly into our sense of identity and self-worth. When someone regrets their actions, they're acknowledging a gap between their ideals and their reality. This gap forces them to reflect on how they behaved and what they lost in the process. It's an uncomfortable but necessary step in growth, and one that often comes too late. Here's where your role comes into focus. By stepping back, you've created the space for them to feel this regret. You've given them the opportunity to recognize your value on their own terms, without you having to explain it or fight for their acknowledgement. This isn't about punishing them. It's about allowing the natural consequences of their actions to unfold. When you stop being the one to fix everything or smooth things over, you shift the responsibility back to them. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In this context, your strength lies in understanding that their regret is theirs to bear. It's not your job to alleviate their guilt or make them feel better. Your role is to focus on your own growth, knowing that you've done everything you could to show up authentically in the relationship. Regret also has a way of sparking change, but that change isn't guaranteed. Some people use regret as a catalyst to grow and improve, while others get stuck in the cycle of what could have been. And for those who are truly introspective, this stage can be transformative. They might start to realize that the loss wasn't just about you. It was about losing the opportunity to be better, to act with more care, and to build a deeper connection. However, not everyone has the emotional maturity to face their regret head-on. Some might deflect, blaming circumstances or even you for the way things ended. This is where your detachment becomes your greatest strength. By not engaging in their emotional turmoil, you protect your peace and allow them to take full responsibility for their actions. Regret and introspection, while painful, are necessary steps for anyone who has lost someone valuable. It's in this stage that they begin to understand the weight of lost opportunities, not just in the relationship, but in their own growth as a person. And for you, it's a reminder of the importance of setting boundaries and prioritizing relationships where your efforts are valued and reciprocated. What do you think? Let me know in the comments with "I choose growth." And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more insights. The next section delves even deeper into the emotional journey you leave behind. You don't want to miss it. Number 4. The yearning to rebuild what was lost. After the weight of regret sinks in, something powerful begins to emerge. A deep yearning to rebuild what was lost. This desire isn't just about reconnecting. It's about restoring a sense of balance and security that your absence disrupted. Folks, this phase is where emotions run high, and the realization of your value truly hits home. It's no longer about what they lost. It's about what they desperately want back. Think of this yearning as an emotional magnet. They might start replaying the good moments in their mind, focusing on the times you made them feel seen, valued, and cared for. Those memories aren't just nostalgia. They become a blueprint for what they crave again. But here's the catch. Rebuilding isn't as simple as reaching out or apologizing. They begin to realize that regaining what they lost requires effort, vulnerability, and acknowledgement of their mistakes. This yearning often manifests in small, tentative actions. They might send a casual text, comment on something you posted, or even find indirect ways to re-enter your life. These attempts aren't always obvious, but they're deeply intentional. It's their way of testing the waters, gauging whether the connection they miss can be rekindled. But here's where the dynamic shifts. You're no longer the person who's readily available, always willing to make things right. Your focus is on your growth, your boundaries, and your peace of mind. This shift in you only amplifies their desire to rebuild. Why? Because people are drawn to those who respect themselves, who don't compromise their value for the sake of others. By standing firm in your worth, you show them that reconciliation isn't something they can take lightly. It's something they have to earn. From a psychological standpoint, this yearning ties back to the concept of loss aversion. People are wired to feel the pain of losing something more acutely than the joy of gaining it. In this case, losing you forces them to confront what they could have had and motivates them to try to reclaim it. But as Marcus Aurelius once said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. You can't control their actions or whether they choose to make amends, but you can control how you respond. This phase is also where their intentions become clear. Are they reaching out because they truly value the connection, or is it about easing their own guilt or discomfort? Your role here is to remain steadfast and discerning. Rebuilding a relationship, or even a friendship, requires mutual effort and sincerity, not just a desire to fill a void. For you, this is a moment of reflection. Do you want to allow them back into your life? Are they willing to meet you halfway? Or is this simply a fleeting attempt to recapture what's gone? These are questions only you can answer, but they should be guided by your values and boundaries. And here's a crucial point. Folks, rebuilding isn't about recreating the past. It's about forging something new, something healthier and more balanced. If they're truly committed to rebuilding, they'll understand that things can't go back to the way they were. Instead, they'll need to prove through their actions, not just their words, that they're willing to grow alongside you. What do you think? Share your perspective in the comments with "I choose mutual growth." And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next part of this journey. Trust me, it's going to get even more insightful. You don't want to miss it. Number 5. Memories that resurface and linger. As time passes, memories begin to resurface like whispers from the past, unbidden and persistent. Folks, these aren't just casual recollections. They're vivid moments that carry emotional weight. When someone realizes they've lost someone significant, those memories don't just remind them of you. They remind them of what they once had and can no longer reach. Think about it. These memories often come at unexpected times, triggered by a song, a place, or even a passing thought. They might remember the way you laughed at their jokes, or the times you went out of your way to make them feel special. Each memory acts as a small echo of the connection they've lost, creating a bittersweet mixture of longing and regret. But here's the thing about memories. They're not just snapshots of the past. They carry emotions, and it's those emotions that linger the longest. For the person who let you go, these memories become a reminder of what made your presence unique. Maybe it was your unwavering support during tough times, or perhaps it was the way you celebrated their victories like they were your own. Whatever it was, those moments stick with them because they weren't ordinary. They were meaningful. Psychologically, this process ties back to how our minds work. Humans are more likely to remember emotional highs and lows than mundane details. When you've made an impact on someone's life, your absence amplifies those emotional memories. The brain clings to what feels significant, and your presence was undoubtedly significant in their life. For them, these resurfacing memories aren't just nostalgic. They're a source of reflection. They begin to question why they didn't appreciate those moments more, or why they didn't hold on tighter when they had the chance. This isn't just about missing you. It's about realizing the irreplaceable value of the experiences you shared. Now, let's bring this back to you. While they're caught in the cycle of lingering memories, you're focused on moving forward. This isn't about being indifferent or cold. It's about recognizing that the past can be a teacher, but not a home. Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." By choosing to focus on your growth rather than dwelling on the past, you honor the memories without being consumed by them. For them, however, Those memories often act as a tether. They pull them back into a loop of what-ifs and if-onlys, making it harder for them to let go. They may find themselves revisiting places you used to go together, scrolling through old messages, or even replaying conversations in their mind. These actions aren't just about reliving the past. They're about trying to hold on to something that feels unfinished. But here's where the shift happens. Memories, while powerful, can't replace the present. If they truly want to reconnect, they'll need to step beyond reminiscing and take actionable steps to rebuild trust and connection. This is where your boundaries come into play. You're not here to relive the past. You're here to create a future that aligns with your values and growth. For you, these lingering memories can serve as a reminder of the good you brought into their life. You were the person who created those meaningful moments, and that's something to be proud of. But it's also a reminder to continue being that person, not for them, but for yourself and the relationships that truly honor your worth. What memories have shaped your perspective? Let us know in the comments with "I cherish my journey." And don't forget to subscribe for more insights. We're diving even deeper into the emotional layers next. You won't want to miss it. Number 6. Trapped in the what-ifs. When someone loses someone they deeply cared about, one of the most consuming emotional states they face is being trapped in the realm of what-ifs. Folks, these two simple words hold immense power. They represent regret, self-doubt, and an unrelenting desire to rewrite the past. But the thing about what-ifs is that they're a mental maze with no exit, a loop that plays over and over, holding them captive to their own thoughts. Imagine this. They sit alone, replaying the relationship in their mind. What if they had been more patient? What if they had communicated better? What if they hadn't taken you for granted? These questions aren't just idle musings. They're painful reminders of the chances they let slip away. Every scenario they conjure feels vivid, almost real, as if they could reach out and change the outcome. But they can't. And that's where the frustration lies. The human brain has a remarkable way of revisiting past decisions, especially when those decisions lead to loss. It's a psychological phenomenon called counterfactual thinking. This is when people imagine alternative outcomes, believing that if only they'd acted differently, things would have turned out better. While this can sometimes inspire growth and learning, in cases of significant loss, it often leads to stagnation, regret, and emotional turmoil. For them, being trapped in the what-ifs means they're not just mourning the loss of you, they're mourning the version of themselves they believe they could have been. It's not just about losing a relationship. It's about losing the opportunity to be the person who could have made it work. These thoughts become an emotional weight, dragging them down and preventing them from moving forward. Now, let's shift the focus to you. While they're stuck in the past, you've embraced the wisdom of living in the present. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control, and the past isn't one of those things. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." This philosophy reminds us that dwelling on what-ifs does nothing but steal the energy we need for growth and progress. For them, the what-ifs might lead to an overwhelming desire to reach out, to fix things, or to seek closure. But here's where your strength lies. You don't owe them that closure. You've already shown up authentically in the relationship, and their journey of introspection is theirs to navigate. Your role isn't to provide answers to their questions. It's to continue walking your path with clarity and purpose. The what-ifs also highlight an important truth. Relationships thrive on mutual effort and respect. If they're reflecting on the ways they fell short, it's a sign that their regret is rooted in their own choices, not yours. This is a powerful realization for both of you. For them, it's an opportunity to learn and grow. For you, it's a reminder of the value you brought to their life and the importance of prioritizing connections where that value is appreciated. But let's not ignore the emotional weight of this phase. Being trapped in the what-ifs can be exhausting, and not everyone finds a way out. Some people remain stuck, unable to move forward or make peace with the past. This is why your decision to focus on the present is so vital. You're not just letting go of the relationship. You're letting go of the emotional baggage that could hold you back. So, where does this leave them? Eventually, they'll have to confront the reality that the past cannot be undone. The choices they made and the opportunities they missed are part of their story now. And for you, it's a reminder of the power of living with intention, of making choices that align with your values so you can move forward without regret. What's your biggest takeaway from this? Share it in the comments with "I embrace the present." And make sure you subscribe for more insights. Our next section dives even deeper, and you don't want to miss it. Number 7. Acknowledging your uniqueness and strength. When the realization of your absence truly sets in, something profound begins to happen. They start to recognize your uniqueness and strength in ways they may have overlooked before. Folks, this isn't just about missing you. It's about understanding that the qualities you brought into their life aren't easily found elsewhere. It's an acknowledgement of the depth of your character, the resilience you displayed, and the irreplaceable essence of who you are. This recognition often comes in stages. At first, they might have believed that they could move on easily, that you were just another person in their life. But as time goes on, and other connections fail to replicate the emotional depth they felt with you, a stark contrast emerges. They begin to see how your presence wasn't just comforting but transformative. You weren't merely there to fill a void. You brought value, clarity, and support in ways that stood apart. Your uniqueness stems from the foundation you've built for yourself. It's the way you held true to your principles, even in difficult times. It's the quiet confidence you carried, showing that your worth wasn't tied to anyone else's validation. People are often drawn to those who live authentically, and your ability to navigate life with purpose and strength is a testament to that. Psychologically, this stage ties back to the concept of scarcity. Humans tend to appreciate things more when they realize those things are rare or unattainable. When they reflect on you, they start to understand that the qualities you possess aren't common. Your emotional intelligence, your ability to remain calm under pressure, and your unwavering sense of self are traits that set you apart. These are the qualities that made you not just memorable, but unforgettable. This acknowledgement doesn't just stay within their thoughts. It transforms their perspective on relationships. They start to recognize that true connection isn't about convenience or surface-level interactions. It's about the depth of understanding, respect, and shared values that you brought to the table. This understanding often leads to a bittersweet realization. While they may have taken you for granted, they now see you for who you truly are, a person of integrity and strength. For you, this phase is a reminder of your own growth. The Stoics teach us that our value isn't determined by how others perceive us, but by how we live according to our principles. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This wisdom highlights the importance of focusing on your actions, your journey, and your character rather than seeking validation from others. Their recognition of your uniqueness doesn't require a response from you. It's not about seeking closure or reigniting old connections. Instead, it's a reflection of the impact you've had and the person you continue to become. Their acknowledgement is theirs to process, and your role is to stay steadfast in your path, knowing that your worth has always been independent of their opinions. In the end, acknowledging your uniqueness and strength is their way of coming to terms with the gravity of losing someone as valuable as you. It's a testament to the life you've built and the legacy you leave behind in their thoughts. While they grapple with what they've lost, you move forward with the assurance that your value isn't diminished by their absence. It remains a constant, driven by the purpose and principles you uphold. Thank you for joining me on this journey into understanding human nature and relationships. Remember, your worth is not defined by others. It lies in your strength, authenticity, and the principles you stand by. If this video resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on your own growth and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay true to yourself and keep embracing the power of your uniqueness. See you in the next video.